You grow up listening to two voices about money. One tells you, play it safe, get a secure job, don't take risks. The other says, if you want freedom, you have to learn how money really works. Which voice do you follow? In the next part of your life, you and I are going to step into Robert Kiyosaki's story. By the end of this episode, you'll understand why the richest people think so differently about money and how you can start thinking like them too, no matter where you are starting from today. Welcome. I am really glad you are here. Think of this as a relaxed, honest conversation about money, freedom, and the choices that shape your financial future. So take a breath, get comfortable, and let's walk together through the world of Rich Dad and Poor Dad. Before we dive in, one quick note. This is an educational summary of the book Rich Dad, Poor Dad. It is not personal financial advice. Always do your own research, check the rules where you live, and make decisions that fit your situation and your risk tolerance. Now, let's start with the heart of the story. Two dads, two money blueprints. Picture a young boy growing up in Hawaii, warm air, ocean breeze, bikes on the street, and small, simple homes lined up in quiet neighborhoods. That boy is Robert Kiyosaki. In his life, he has two father figures. The first is his real biological father. He is highly educated with advanced degrees and a respected government job. He believes deeply in traditional education, in job security, and in climbing the stable career ladder. Study hard, get good grades, find a secure job. This is the man Robert calls his poor dad. At the dinner table, Poor Dad talks about job security, benefits, pensions, and promotions. He worries about bills. He trusts the school system and the government. He believes that if you just follow the rules and work hard, everything will be fine in the end. The second father is the dad of his best friend. This man did not finish school. He does not have a fancy title. In fact, on paper, he looks less educated. But he owns businesses. He invests. He understands how money moves through the economy. He is calm when others panic, and he is curious when others complain. This is the man Robert calls his rich dad. When Rich Dad talks, the conversation is different. He asks questions like, how does this business really make money? How does cash flow through this company? Who owns the assets? Who carries the risk? He talks about buying assets, building systems, training people, and letting money work for you instead of working for money your entire life. Both men care about Robert. Both men are intelligent in their own ways. But when it comes to money, they live in completely different worlds. Poor Dad says things like, go to school so you can find a secure job. Money doesn't grow on trees. We can't afford that. Study hard, and the company will take care of you. People who want to be rich are greedy. Rich Dad says things like, learn how money works, not just how to work for money. Do not say, I can't afford it. Ask, how can I afford it? Do not depend on one paycheck. Build assets that pay you. Do not work only for money. Make money work for you. Wanting to be financially free is not greed. It is responsibility. As a kid, Robert stands between these two voices. He loves both men, but their advice pulls him in different directions. He watches their lives and their results. He sees the stress, the arguments about money, the job fears on one side, and the calm confidence and long-term thinking on the other. Slowly, he realizes something shocking. Education alone does not guarantee financial freedom. A high salary does not guarantee wealth. The real difference between Rich Dad and Poor Dad is not how smart they are, and not even how hard they work. It is their mindset, their financial literacy, and the way they use money. From these two fathers, Robert learned 6 big lessons that shape his whole future. Let's walk through them together, one by one, and connect them directly to your life today in a modern economy. Lesson 1. The rich don't just work for money. When Robert is still a kid, he begs Rich Dad to teach him how to be rich. Rich Dad agrees, but the lessons do not start with a textbook. They start in a small convenience store that Rich Dad owns. Robert works there for almost no pay. He stocks shelves, cleans, organizes newspapers, and does simple repetitive tasks. He earns so little that he feels insulted. After a while, he cannot take it. He feels used. He feels underpaid. He feels like he is wasting his time. So he confronts Rich Dad. In that conversation, Rich Dad reveals one of the deepest truths in the book. He explains that most people live their entire lives trapped in a loop driven by two emotions, fear and desire. Fear of not having enough money pushes them to get a job and stay in it, even when they are unhappy. Desire for nicer things pushes them to spend almost everything they earn, sometimes even more. So the pattern looks like this: work hard, get paid, feel stressed, spend to feel better. Then the bills arrive, fear returns, back to work, back to stress, back to spending. They repeat this cycle for decades. That is what Rich Dad calls the rat race. They are not working because they love what they do. They are working because they are afraid of what happens if they stop. Rich Dad tells Robert, the poor and the middle class work for money. The rich have money work for them. He deliberately pays Robert very little to shock him out of the wage mindset. He wants him to see beyond the paycheck. He wants him to feel the system instead of just playing in it. The real lesson is not how to make a few extra cents. The real lesson is to stop asking, how much are you paying me? And start asking, what am I learning? How does this business work? Where is the money really flowing? How can I create income instead of only trading time for it? Now, let's bring this right to your life. In the United States today, it is very easy to get trapped in that exact loop. You might wake up early, commute to a job you tolerate but do not love, come home exhausted, and then relieve the stress by spending money. Streaming services, food delivery, online shopping, credit cards, upgrades. You promise yourself you will save more next month, but something always happens. The car needs repair. Medical bills show up. A friend invites you on a trip. Fear and desire keep you running. The first lesson of Rich Dad. Poor Dad is not a call to be reckless or to quit your job overnight. It is a call to change how you see your job. Your job is important. It pays your bills. It feeds your family. It may even give you meaning. But the rich do not stop there. They use their job as a platform, a stepping stone, a source of capital and skills. They understand that if all of your income comes from a single paycheck, your entire life depends on one person's decision above you. So ask yourself honestly, right now, are you working only for money? Or are you also building something that will one day work for you? That question, if you take it seriously, can change the direction of your life. Lesson 2. Why financial literacy matters. Rich Dad teaches Robert a simple rule. It is not how much money you make, it is how much you keep, how hard it works for you, and how many generations it works for. Most people are taught how to earn money. Very few are taught how to manage it, protect it, and grow it. That gap is what Rich Dad calls financial literacy. At the center of financial literacy is one simple but powerful distinction: the difference between an asset and a liability. Rich Dad defines it this way. An asset is something that puts money into your pocket. A liability is something that takes money out of your pocket. That is it. No complicated spreadsheets. Just cash flow. If you own something and month after month it quietly puts money into your bank account, it behaves like an asset. If you own something and month after month it quietly drains money from your account, it behaves like a liability. For example, a rental property that brings in more rent than it costs in mortgage, taxes, insurance, and maintenance can be an asset. A small business that produces consistent profit is an asset. Investments that generate cash flow, dividends, or long-term growth can be assets. On the other hand, the house you live in for most people is not a pure financial asset. Yes, it may go up in value over many years, but every month it takes money out of your pocket in the form of payments, taxes, insurance, and repairs. Your car, your credit card debt, your student loans, your luxury purchases, your gadgets, your subscriptions. They may bring comfort or status, but financially, most of them behave like liabilities. Rich Dad warns Robert that the poor and the middle class often confuse these two. They buy liabilities and proudly call them assets. They say, "I have a big house and a nice car, so I'm doing well." But if those things are eating their cash every month, they are actually weakening their position. The rich focus on building assets that create cash flow. They know that wealth is not about looking rich. It is about owning things that quietly pay you, even when you are asleep. So what about you? Imagine sitting down at your table with a blank sheet of paper. Draw two columns. On the left, write assets. On the right, write liabilities. Under assets, list only things that genuinely put money into your pocket. Under liabilities, list everything that takes money out. Your paycheck is not an asset. It is income. Your job is not an asset. It is a source of cash flow that can stop. If you did this exercise honestly right now, which column would be longer? This is not about judging yourself. It is about seeing clearly. Financial literacy begins the moment you stop guessing and start looking. Once you see where the money really goes, you can slowly begin to change the picture. Lesson 3. Mind your own business. Rich Dad has a phrase that sounds blunt. Mind your own business. He is not saying, stay out of other people's lives. He is saying, do not confuse your job with your business. Your job is where you earn money today. Your business is your asset column. If you are a nurse, a teacher, a driver, an engineer, a cashier, a programmer, or a manager, that is your job. It is honorable and important. But if all you ever do is trade your time for a paycheck, your financial life is always fragile. You are one layoff, one illness, one crisis away from serious trouble. Rich Dad's message is simple. While you work your job, quietly and steadily build your own business in the background. That business might be a rental property you slowly pay off, an online brand, a store, or a content channel you grow over years, a small local service that fills a need in your community, a portfolio of investments you carefully research and add to, a book, a course, or a product that can be sold many times. Most people pour all their energy into making someone else's business rich. They help build assets they will never own. They give decades to companies that can let them go in a single meeting. The rich flip the focus. They may have jobs, they may even have high-level careers. But they always ask, how does this job help me build my own assets? How does this move me closer to owning income-producing things? In your life, this might look like using part of your paycheck to invest instead of using every raise to upgrade your lifestyle. Spending a few hours each week building a skill or project that could turn into an asset. Seeing your employer as a partner in your financial journey, not your entire plan. When you start to mind your own business in this way, something powerful happens. You stop feeling like a victim of your job. You become the CEO of your own financial life. Lesson 4. The history of taxes and the power of corporations. This lesson opens a window most people never look through. Poor Dad believes in working hard for a salary and paying his taxes as a good citizen. He believes that if the government taxes the rich more, life will be fairer for everyone. Rich Dad sees something different. He studies the history of taxes and notices a pattern. Taxes are often introduced with the promise of targeting the rich, but over time, they end up heavily impacting the middle class. He also notices that the rich rarely just stand still. They learn the rules, they adapt, they use legal tools to manage how their money flows. Here's the typical pattern for an employee. You earn income. Taxes are taken out automatically. You live on what is left. Earn, taxed, then spend what remains. For business owners and investors who use corporations, or LLCs, the flow can look different. The business earns income. The business spends on legitimate expenses and reinvests in growth. Taxes are paid on what is left after those expenses. Earn, spend on expenses and reinvestment, then get taxed on the remaining profit. The order is different, and that difference can be huge over a lifetime. Corporations are not just for giant companies. They are legal entities that can own assets, pay expenses, and create a barrier between personal risk and business risk. They are tools, and like any tool, they can be used wisely or poorly. Rich Dad is not teaching Robert to cheat on taxes or to do anything illegal. He is teaching him to understand the game he is playing. He wants him to see that the tax code, in many countries including the United States, is full of incentives. Governments often reward people who create jobs, provide housing, invest in certain industries, build businesses that strengthen the economy. If you only ever operate as a salaried employee, you play the game on one level. If you learn how businesses and entities work, you move to another level with more options. For you, this might mean becoming more curious about how taxes really work where you live, learning why some people form LLCs or corporations when they start a side business, talking to a qualified professional when you begin to build assets. You do not need to become a tax lawyer, but you do need to know enough to not be completely blind. Knowledge here does not just save money, it gives you confidence and control. Lesson 5. The rich invent money. As Robert spends more time with Rich Dad, he notices a pattern in how Rich Dad sees the world. Where most people see problems, Rich Dad sees possibilities. A street full of run-down properties looks depressing to most. To Rich Dad, it may look like a neighborhood ready for transformation, with opportunities to buy low, improve, and rent or resell. A market crash feels like disaster to many. To a prepared investor, it may look like a temporary sale on assets. Rich Dad tells Robert, the rich invent money. He does not mean printing money illegally. He means that the rich combine knowledge, observation, creativity, and courage to create value where others see nothing. He explains that opportunities are not rare. What is rare is the trained mind that can recognize them and act. He also describes different types of investors. Some hand their money to other people and hope for the best. Some chase hot tips, rumors. The whole system is designed to create good workers, not necessarily financially free people. Rich Dad, Poor Dad is an invitation to gently evolve from a pure employee mindset to an investor and owner mindset. This shift can be summed up in a few key questions. Instead of only asking, how can I earn more money? You also ask, how can I build more assets? Instead of seeing your job as your only form of security, you see it as one income stream that can help you build others. Instead of automatically upgrading your lifestyle every time your income rises, you first ask, can I use part of this increase to buy or build an asset? Instead of relying on one company, one boss, and one paycheck. You slowly build a life supported by multiple sources of income. This transformation does not happen in a week, but it can begin with a single decision. Practical steps. You can start now. Let's bring everything down to ground level with a few practical moves inspired by Rich Dad, Poor Dad. First, build awareness. For the next month, track your cash flow. Write down every dollar that comes in and every dollar that goes out. You do not need a fancy app. A simple notebook or note on your phone works. Awareness is the first step to control. Second, create your personal balance sheet. Make that list of assets and liabilities. Be honest about what is truly putting money into your pocket and what is quietly draining it. Even if the liability column is much longer right now, at least you will see the truth. Third, commit to ongoing financial education. Decide that you will become financially literate over the next few years. You could read one good book on money or investing every month. You could listen to educational content while driving or working out. Bit by bit, your financial vocabulary will grow. Fourth, start or grow your asset column. If you already invest, deepen your understanding and your discipline. If you have never invested, start small and simple. You might begin with a long-term index fund, or by learning how real estate works in your area, or by building a small digital product. Fifth, look at your career through the work-to-learn lens. Ask yourself, what skills am I learning right now that will help me build assets later? If the answer is not many, ask, what can I add? What can I start on the side? Where can I stretch myself to grow? These steps will not make you rich tomorrow, but they will put your life on a new trajectory. A trajectory that leads away from constant financial stress and toward more control and freedom. A gentle reality check. It is easy to listen to a summary like this and feel two things at once: inspired and overwhelmed. Inspired because the ideas are powerful. Overwhelmed because your current reality might feel heavy. Maybe you have debt. Maybe you are supporting children or parents. Maybe your job is exhausting and you feel you have no energy left at the end of the day. If that is you, take a moment. You are not late. You are not a failure. You are simply at one point in your story. Rich Dad, Poor Dad is not about blaming you, your family, or the system. It is about giving you a new map. You may not be able to change your income this month. You may not be able to pay off your debt this year. But you can change your direction. One choice at a time, one habit at a time, one small asset at a time. Over years, those small decisions compound. They create a gap between the version of you who never made a change and the version of you who did. A story of two futures. So let's imagine two versions of your future. In the first version, nothing really changes. You keep doing what you have always done. You work hard, you pay bills, you buy things that briefly make you feel better, you carry debt, and you hope that Social Security, a pension, or luck will take care of the future. In the second version, something small but important shifts today. You decide to learn the language of money. You decide to track your cash flow. You decide to build assets slowly, even if you start tiny. You decide to stop saying, "I can't afford it," and start asking, how can I afford it? You decide to step out of the rat race, not by quitting your job tomorrow, but by building your own exit over time. Same person, same country, same economy, different mindset, different daily choices, completely different outcome. That is the heart of Rich Dad, Poor Dad. It is not a book about hating jobs or worshiping money. It is a book about taking responsibility for your financial education. It is about choosing which dad you will listen to from this point on. Will you follow the path of poor dad, trusting only in a paycheck and hoping the system protects you? Or will you follow the path of rich dad, learning, questioning, building assets, and gradually creating more freedom over your time and your life? Closing and call to action. The fact that you are still here, listening to this summary, says something important about you. You care about your financial future. You are willing to think differently. You are already ahead of the version of you who never pressed play. Now, I want to turn this over to you. If you had to choose just one idea from everything you heard to act on in the next 7 days, what would it be? Will you start tracking every dollar that comes in and goes out? Sit down and list your assets and liabilities honestly. Begin reading more about a specific type of investing that interests you. Launch or restart that small side project you have been thinking about for months. Share your answer in the comments. Are you choosing to think more like Poor Dad or like Rich Dad from this point forward? And what is one concrete step you are going to take after listening? Your comment might be the nudge someone else needs to begin their own financial transformation. If this summary helped you see money in a new way, consider sharing this video with a friend or family member. Sometimes, one honest conversation about money can change a whole family's future. Thank you for spending this time with me, walking through the lessons of Rich Dad, Poor Dad. You do not need permission to start your financial education. You just need a decision. Start where you are. Use what you have. Learn, act, adjust, and keep going. Your future self is already grateful.